Alright, welcome back. This is Rico, episode 3, and we're going to be talking about compression and some additive EQ. So, let's go to the top here, and let's listen to our bass and see what we've done with it. Okay. Right off the top, the only thing I've done to this is I've added a VSTI, the Mark II by Overload. That's the original bass signal. And this is what I've done. I've added this patch called Grunge Hole, and then I just added some compression here instead of using a third-party compression plugin. Set the gain 3.2 dB, just a little bit of gain. The ratio at 2.63, a fairly fast attack and a fairly fast release. Without the compressor, it's more pumping. And it's a little less pumping. Okay. And that's what I've done to the bass. Now let's take a look at the kick. This kick patch. Okay, let's look here at the original EQ where I've used the low cut filter here. I've added 1.28 dB at basically 240. This low frequency I've added basically 2 dB at 60, so my kick is going to be floating around 60 Hertz. That's where the energy is. And then here 1.6 dB at 620, so all the even order harmonics of 60. And then I just rolled a little back because it was clipped. Good. Next. Okay, here's a Waves Puig Tech EP1A, EQP1A. What I've done here, I love this plugin for low and it's absolutely gorgeous. At 60, I've boosted it 3. Listen to it without it. And with it. Without. With. Yeah, add some balls. I like that. Balls. Good. Okay, so let's leave this. We'll go to the claps and snares. Okay, I've used the same plugin here just to save processing power. At 125, I've added 1.29 dB, 2.6 dB at 250, so the even order harmonics I'm just stacking, right? 750, 2.8 dB, wide cues, wide, always use a wide cue whenever you're adding. You don't want to use narrow, then you get really weird artifacts happening. It doesn't sound very good. Okay, so I got the kick, snare, and bass. Starting to sound like music now. Good. Now let's go to the clap. Okay. There's our clap. Okay, I've added a plugin. By Waves, the CLA drums plugin, and what I've done here is I've increased the treble, slight bass in the upper register here, 3, 8, and then for compression, spank compression, which I believe is like a electro compression, and 3. Without it, with it. Okay, you just might think, okay, this sounds pretty thin, right? Well, listen to it with the clap. With it, without the plugin, the frequencies clash. With the plugin, you can hear that there's 2 elements. Yeah. Good. Remember, you don't want to invade everyone's personal space. Let them have their frequencies that they like, and then you work around them. It's about building a track, not just making sounds fight together. Alright, so let's go to the hi-hats here. These hats, I've added that same plugin. And the only thing I've done here is, where is it? I've had the Maserati plugin. And for this plugin here, if you notice here, I have the sensitivity crank, the thump, which is your low end, that little less for low end, your snap, which is your basically compression. I've rolled back on that, cranked the treble on this, and rolled back the output. Without the plugin. With the plugin. Awesome. Okay, good. Let's go to that cowbell now. Okay. Cowbell, all I've done is I've added some EQ. That's it. At 500 Hz, I added 2 dB. At 1.5, I added 4. And at 50, I just kept it at 0 because I don't want no low end here. Nothing here. Without it. With it. Let's a little bit brighter. Let it cut through. Okay. Next, let's go to the fill. And okay, here we are. For this fill, the only thing I've done is I've added a high shelf. Roughly at 788 Hertz. Without it? With it? Yeah. Just lets it cut through a little more. Let's go to this loop. Okay. This loop here, I've done a lot with it. Okay. As for EQ, you can see here at 494, I've boosted it slightly, and then I've dipped right here around 3,520, and then I've boosted it again at about 8.3K. Without it, with it. Okay. Good. Compression. I'm using the stock Cubase compressor. I'm getting about 5.9 at the most dB of compression here. So I got negative 2.21 right now. It's even better. And my ratio is 2. My threshold is negative 27. I got a moderately fast attack and a good release. So it's just making it a little bit punchier. Without it, and with it. And there we are. Good. Excellent. Loop number 2. Okay. Same thing, I've just added a compressor from Cubase. I'm getting about 2 dBs of compression, so I'm just getting rid of the peaks. Ratio of 2, attacks relatively fast. I'm using an automatic release, which looks like it's really fast. And 23 threshold, pretty decent. Okay, they sound pretty good together. Okay, let's go to the last loop. Alright, for this one here, all I've done is I've added a compressor, Fab Filter Pro C. Very, very low threshold at -8, ratio at 2, attack relatively fast, 10 milliseconds, and speed at about 0.5 milliseconds. And that's about it. Not bad. Listen to without it. With it. Beautiful. Not much happening there. Good. Okay. Effects. Done nothing. To effects 1. To effects 2, I've done nothing. To effects 3, I've done nothing. To the lead. Okay. Definitely have done some stuff to this. Okay. Let's take a look at this. I've added an additive EQ plugin here. The Jack Joseph Puig plugin. I used the piano preset and then I made some alterations. So if we look here, I've leveled out the lows and the highs. I've added some compression to it. Girth is width. I didn't want to keep it too wide, so I roll back on that. Presence is your high mid boost, so I added a little bit to that. Doubler I pulled back because I don't want this to get too wide again. Same thing with space. Without the plugin, this is the original signal, and with the new signal, yeah, sounds a little fuller. Good. As for compression, I did not add any whatsoever. Didn't want to lose the pumping sound here. Alright, let's go to the next one, which is the additive. Okay. So, the only thing I've done here is I've added a compressor here to the high end. I got very little compression happening here. Ratio of 2, minus 20 here, attack of 62, so fairly slow attack, moderate release, right? And like I said, there's very, very little gain reduction happening here. Just getting rid of any peaks. Okay. Next. For the glitches. Close up on this. Okay, for the glitches, all I've done was add some EQ to boost the highs. 10K, 4 dB, 5K, 2 dB, and nothing below that. So just boosting the top, giving it some air. Alright, glitch number 2. And all I've done to this one here is added a boost. Three dB at 920 hertz. 4 dB roughly. And that's basically it. Without the EQ. And with EQ. Yeah, just give it a little boost there. Notice how the EQ is very wide. Good. Next one is the bass signal. Now these basses are copies of each other. And with these bass signals, I've added a plugin, the Maserati plugin. Now this is a new patch. I've doubled the signal, I've made a duplicate, so this is patch number 2 to give me some lows. This is the sub-bass preset from Maserati. If you take a look at your sensitivity or your input gain is set to 14, I boosted that. Bass is pretty high, treble is just a little bit above normal, and I lowered the output. Without it, yeah, with it, just add some bottom end to it. And this was our original bass that we had from the last video. Same plugin, same settings. Without it, and with it. Okay. Together. Good. Next video, I'll probably end up grouping them together and compressing them. Okay. So let's go to the lead. This lead. Let's roll it back. Alright. And this, all I've done is add some EQ. 5K, I've added 9 dB, I've boosted it a lot. 200, 9 dB, I've boosted it a lot. And then at 400, 2. So I'm giving it a lot of bottom and a lot of high mids. Without it, I want that sound of air, that breathing sound to come out. Here it just sounds like static. Here you can feel that air. Good. Next one, the analog phaser. Alright. Let's move this over. Take a listen to this. Okay. Same plugin. I love the API 550 A and B for anything to do with mids and highs, especially all the highs. If you want it to breathe, these are the best plugins. You're not going to get better than this. 10K at a 2 dB and 3K I've added 4 dB, and at 400 I've added 2. Without it, with it, just makes it a little bit brighter. Okay, good. Now, here's the last one, arpeggio. Same thing, I've used the 550B without the plugin. Without it. With it. Clarity. I love it. Listen to that. So what I've done is at 700 I've added 2 dB, 1.5 I've added 2 dB, and at 10K I've added 2 dB. Not too much. And then I rolled off the output because it was clipping. Those synths all together. Beautiful. So, everything all together sounds like this, not mixed. Beautiful. So you notice that most of these tracks were not compressed. All I've done was add some EQ to make them sound a little clearer, get rid of the mud, and let their good moments shine. Alright, I'm Rico, I'm out, and in the next lesson we'll be talking about some modulation, saturation, and some panning. Ciao. I'm out of here. I'll see you later.